All right, so we're talking about Gamergate, sort of, and just me in the chat having a conversation. So I figured I'd just kind of record this sort of thing. I was just explaining how I was never involved in Gamergate, which is true. I was never involved in Gamergate. I was around during it, but I didn't really care. When I flirted with, and then for the most part was pretty much a big part of anti-SJW content, was purely because of cancelings, which I do think it was like kind of a cancel culture thing, towards Tim Hunt for telling a stupid joke. And then Matt Taylor, the guy who landed the comet because he wore a shirt with pinup girls on it. You know? Hey!
Come?
Come. Come? 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 Do I actually have that somewhere? I do, don't I? I do. Come. Anyway, so, and these are things where, like, these are people who are very valuable to the scientific community who are getting their careers all fucked up because of really no offenses, you know, really not. I mean, wearing a pinup girl, like, shirt is literally made by a woman, you know, or telling, like, a really off-color joke because he's an awkward old man. Not good reasons to be trying to remove these people from science. So for me, falling into it was pretty easy. But the main problem that I have with it is that around the time of Gamergate, anti-SJW, skeptics, that sort of thing, somebody was pointing it out the other day. It was one of the very first times in which a mob managed to really consolidate enough energy online to put forward real societal impact, like super, super strong impact. It was pretty wild. And personally, I think the grievances of Gamergate were way overblown. There were some valid criticisms, you know, in some of the, like, what seemed to be a very insular crowd of journalists and award shows and that sort of thing. And there's an interesting article in there that got completely buried by a bunch of people's shithead behavior that went way too fucking far. And the more you got into it, and especially if you were doing YouTube like I was at the time, it's very intoxicating when suddenly you're just flooded with love of people being like, yeah, no, go further. And like, oh, shit. I'm getting subscribers and money. And people know who I am and are trying to invite me to events and shit. And there's a real powerful psychological impact that has on a person. That doesn't excuse people's behavior. And it doesn't excuse, like, the end results of some of the shit that went down with it, for sure. But it is fascinating to look back on and analyze, you know? I did absolutely had to confront some biases that I didn't even know I was building up at the time. And I had to look at some harsh truths about myself. It's one of the reasons why I pivoted. But even before, like, the falling out of popularity in anti-SJW and skeptic content, I was already like, dude, I need to get the fuck out of here. This is going way too weird in a strange direction I don't like. I'm gonna go back to science communication videos, and I probably would have never gotten past maybe 50,000 subscribers if not for the whole Dr. Phil Jilly Juice thing just blowing up. Which also, that didn't even really blow up until PewDiePie watched my episode. Like, that's where a lot of my success came from. And that's because I turned away from something that was automatic success, which was continuing to go in that direction. I abandoned it. And a lot of other people didn't. And they got a lot bigger than I did. Oh boy. Oh boy. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, look, it's important to me to balance out what I'm willing to do as far as ambition versus what I'm willing to live with myself doing. Like, I couldn't morally do what, like, the Quartering does. But physically speaking, professionally, like, performatively, I could do the Quartering's job 10 times fucking better than he could. Because he has no fucking personality, and his presentation is awful, and he's boring. I could do it 10 times fucking better. But I couldn't bring myself to, you know? And that's just kind of what it is. If I didn't have anybody to really disappoint in my life, you know, like my family, then it'd probably be pretty easy to maybe be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah, sure. But yeah, no, with just the state of like my life, my existence, my values, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I think it was just before Gamergate started that I found you. Yeah, Red. Absolutely. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't know, man. It's really nuts. Both pulled our heads out of our asses and found a more genuine direction. Sure, yeah, of course. Yeah. A lot of people found me through Miles Power, which is great. Which is super great because I enjoyed that kind of content, nerd content, science content, way more than I ever did the stuff that I was doing in the anti-SJW sphere. Like here on the second channel, this really is like my shitposting channel. It's for me to vent and for me to just kind of get that aggression out, you know, in a direction where I don't really give a fuck. But it's fun and it feels good, you know. It is what it is. So yeah, I don't know. DP introduced you to me. That's also a good direction to come from, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. Is what it is. Is what it is. But yeah, that's just some basic thoughts because some people started bringing up Gamergate recently, like a couple of days ago. And you know, I don't think we should. There's the old what was it? Oh, let's see, diagram. Yeah. Sticks Hexenwanker decided to post this the other day, talking about the Alternative Influence Network on YouTube. And kind of how it spread out and branched and brought people into certain spheres, you know. And I'm on it. I'm right fucking there. Oddly enough, next to Baked Alaska, who I've never had anything to do with. But in between Andy and Sargon and shit and Tim Pool, some black guys in there, Blair White, you know. And this it's basically, if you read the actual paper, Becca Lewis wrote this, and I really didn't agree with it at all when it first came out, and I was like very pissed. But as time went on and I had enough time to really self-reflect about it, I read her report, and there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of value in it, and it is kind of interesting if we can look back and forensically understand how these influence networks kind of drove people into certain directions. I think there's a value to that. I really do. I do think it's also fascinating that most of the people on this I cannot fucking stand, and I have aggressively shit all over. But there's still a few that remain my friends, you know. There's a few, you know. Some black guy, me and Derek are still great friends. Love the shit out of that guy. Is there any others? I mean, me and Bunty are still basically friends. Monday Matt, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, other than that, nah. Most of them are pretty fucking terrible. Oh well. You live and you learn, man. You live and you learn.
We accept Kekistani refugees here.
Oh, no, wait, hang on. You have to understand. I am the last of the Kekistani, all right? I'm the only one that will still have anything to fucking do with it in the form of making jokes about it. Everybody else is just like nope. Me, I'm like, fuck yeah, I made that shit. It was funny at the time.
Hour late to catching your stream. Love your content always, Jeff. Everyone remember to drink your resistance to psychic damage potions. Argoni 15 mana, Argoni 15 health, Argoni 15 stam.
Okay, sounds good to me. Thanks for the sub, buddy. Yeah, man, it's pretty fucking wild. Yeah, and oddly enough, Chris Reagan was never on that chart. I don't know. It was weird. There's a bunch of people that just never made it onto there and dodged that bullet, right? But no, listen, Kekistan, it's still funny.